What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Locked In Sports Podcast. I'm William Locke, and joining me this week is a distraught Luis Barranco, who is petrified of the fact of the Florida Panthers blowing a 3-0 lead in his newfound Florida Panthers fandom, by the way. Big night for you.
It is, man. You don't understand how much, after game freaking 4, I'm a hockey fan. Y'all, I even told you, can we first off pause the podcast right now? And can I get credit? Because I don't waste my oxygen on saying needless BS. I said that the hockey playoffs were way better than the NBA playoffs. And how everybody's like, oh, hockey. Stephen A. Smith is at the bank tonight. They have Shannon Sharp talking about hockey on first game. What did I say a month ago?
And you're right. I mean, the NBA playoffs were a dud. The ratings were down. And hockey, all of a sudden, it looked like it was going to be a clean sweep. And all of a sudden, it's given us this amazing series. A lot of great storylines. McDavid, the Panthers collapse. The Oilers come back. There's a lot of intrigue. There's a lot of, anytime someone comes back from 3-0 down, they always bring up the Yankees in 2004. So I'm not a fan of 3-0 comebacks just because that gets brought up every single time. But it is cool to see, a Canadian team hasn't won in forever. So it would be, obviously you want the Panthers to win. The game's about to start. I'm kind of going for the Oilers. I'm not going to lie. I've always liked McDavid and I want to see a Canadian team win it. So.
Casual. This is, in baseball terminology, give me an expansion team that was just dog water. Like an expansion team, new team.
Rockies.
Okay. Well, the Rockies actually have history.
Not really.
They do. They've had great players. They had Dante Bichette, Larry Walker, Todd Helton. They've had their fair share of good.
They have Hall of Famers. I was going to say the Marlins, but they were in a World Series. They've won 2 World Series, one in the 90s, one in 2003. So they were actually not bad.
Because the Florida Panthers are they were a very new franchise. A couple years ago, they were this team 10 years ago, they were move the team. There's no fans, and now they've rebuilt. They've spent money on big ticket free agents signings, and they've been in contention for the past 2-3 seasons. So I'm trying to think of an MLB equivalent. I don't want to say the Royals.
No, they got a World Series.
But they have a World Series, and it's just they're older. It's like a new team.
You could say the Diamondbacks, but the Diamondbacks won in 2001.
What I would say would be the Nationals. Before that, the Nationals or the Rays. How about the Rays? Tampa.
The Rays is good.
Yes, it'd be Tampa going up versus one of the original Canadian team, not Canadian, but one of the OG teams. Gretzky played in Canada, so it's just who's it wouldn't be the Yankees.
Giants, maybe. They had Willie Mays. They have a lot of great history. They've won championships.
Or the Cardinals.
Yeah.
The Cardinals have great history. It'd be the Cardinals versus the Rays World Series. So, the Cup's getting rolled into the stadium right now. I have it in the background. It's a great time right now. We got a lot of good baseball going on.
Yeah, we have Game 3 of the College World Series tonight as well. It's 1-1 Tennessee. 1-1 middle of the third right now.
There's been a lot going on since our last pod. We haven't been on the air. When was the last time we came on the air?
2 weeks ago today. It's been 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, man. I've been underwater here in Florida, man. We've had flooding and it's been like that. So how have you been? How's Chicago?
Yeah, no, everything's been good. And weather's been good. Doring was in town this weekend visiting, so got to see him for the first time in a long time.
There you go.
Shout out Doring. He's doing a big road trip of the United States, visiting friends. He's going to a Copa America game in New York, so he's got a lot of traveling. Weather's been great. Just got to get that weather chat. Baseball's been okay. The Yankees have been struggling of late, so that's kind of been disappointing. Started a new job today.
Can we talk about how hot it is in Chicago? It's actually hotter in Chicago than it is in Miami.
Well, not anymore. It was like in the 70s today, but it was in the 90s like last week. It was pretty brutal. And with the concrete, you don't really get any relief from it. So there's your weather talk. I hope the listeners are satisfied.
How about the new project you got going on? You were talking about you started a new project today?
Yeah, new job. We can chat more off air about specifics, but started a new job today. Excited about it. And all good things. Can't complain.
Hey, there's been a lot of ball we got to talk about. We haven't talked ball in a minute. First off, can we start off with like can we get a bell rang where the critics strike again? What did I say like two pods ago?
Let's see. I don't think there's a bell on here, but what do we say? This is very broad, so I don't know where you're going with this.
What did I say? What did I say? If you check our document, it's in bold. It's in bold and it's right there. Like right.
Yankees acquired J.D. Davis for Jordan Groshans and cash.
What did I say was going to happen? Cashman was going to make the call out to Oakland, and he was going to get one of those cornerbacks. I said Abraham Toro. I'm still taking credit because it's J.D. He was designated for the assignment, but hey, we can just open up quickly about the Yankees. I mean, I don't think you're worried about them. I don't think anybody should be worried about them. Yeah, the injuries are piling up, but hey.
So yeah, the injuries are piling up. But I can't say I'm too surprised with like Stanton going down with a hamstring injury. Like Brian Cashman said over the offseason, it's part of his game. It was really only a matter of time before he got hurt. So he's going to be out for like a month. That stinks because he was probably our third best hitter this season. You lose Rizzo for a long time with a broken arm. That's okay because he's been so bad. And honestly, I think it's exciting to give a guy like Ben Rice an opportunity at the major league level. And then, you trade for J.D. Davis, so that's kind of going to be the platoon at first. Worried. The pitching is great. We got Cole back last week. He was fine in his start against Baltimore. Fine, not great, nothing special. But he's going to be back in that rotation, which is huge. And, we've lost 3 straight series, Atlanta, Baltimore, and one other I can't think of right now.
Boston.
But, yeah, Boston, last Sunday Night Baseball. There are some things that worry me about this team, like, teams running wild around the bases. I think that could come back to bite us in the playoffs. If the right guys are injured, or if the wrong guys are injured at the wrong time in the playoffs, that'll hurt. But overall, yeah, I mean, if you look at us and you look at Baltimore, and we'll talk about Baltimore a little bit later, like Baltimore's really banged up too right now. So it's really the only division that projects to have a good divisional race this year because all the other ones are kind of blowouts. And both of the teams are banged up right now. So I think it's going to be a battle to the end. Am I worried? No, because you're not going to play your best baseball all season long. That's just impossible. I hope they can turn it around this week, playing the Mets Tuesday, Wednesday.
Hey, I don't know about the Mets, man. The Mets got the grimace, man. The grimace is the grimace Mets. I'm so sad you didn't post our picks last week. I had the Mets winning the series versus the Cubs.
I know.
The grimace, man. You got to go with the grimace, man. Those Mets are hot. And, I mean, it just goes to show you how baseball is just one of those games that anything can happen. And in reality, when you look at everything going on, it's June. And, it's mid-June. We've played about half the season to this point, or damn near close to. We're right around the midway point. I think we hit midway point either by the end of the week or start of next week. We'll hit it. And, injuries happen. And this is why, we talked about in the offseason, you want to have at least 6 to 7 starters to put out there to rotate a decent bullpen and some depth to go to these injuries. You got to have a good system. And so it's just the war of attrition. When you look at all sports in football, it's who's the healthiest at the end. In basketball, everybody's hurt. So, I mean, like, I'm a big right now. You talk about how you're worried about Atlanta. I'm not worried about Atlanta. I'll worry about Atlanta if they're not doing it in deep August into September. Like, go ahead, just be in it. And for these teams, these big teams like the Yankees, Atlanta, Dodgers, they don't care about injuries. It's just about just getting there. And obviously, like, you want division. Everybody wants a division because you want those matchups. And I mean, especially like last week, I got on the phone with a lot of my friends and we were talking about how the AL is going to shape up. And whoever doesn't win like that AL East, AL division is screwed regardless because
If
you're
the
gonna
loser of that division, yeah.
no, but even the winner because the way it shapes out, and I put it in the grid, was that say the Yankees win, obviously you get the bye, which you don't know if you want the bye. That's
Yeah, you
something
don't.
that's up for debate. If you do the 4 and you win that series, that play-in series, that's whatever series, you're gonna have to go then play the 1 right after. So you're better off, and this is why, if for you betting heads, Seattle and Cleveland, as things stand, they have a free run to the CS because the 3 would play the 6, and then the 2 gets another bye, and the winner of the 2-3, whatever the second round series, is going to get to the CS. You avoid playing New York and you avoid playing Baltimore, and that's how it's going to shape out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the spot you want to be. Also, Seattle with that pitching in October is going to be something to reckon with. So yeah, obviously in the playoffs you want to be avoiding the Yankees and the Orioles, and if you can do so until the CS, that's huge.
That's why I would sprinkle, if you can sprinkle some money on the Guardians and Mariners to CS odds, like those are pretty good odds. And those Yankees Baltimore series, like you can talk about how that series was last week. They were like competitive. They were like both up and down, up and down.
Well, one of the games was, the other 2 games they blow us out of the water. The Thursday game was brutal. So I mean, and the Yankees have a losing record against the Orioles this year. Again, yeah, like you keep saying, it's June. Like it doesn't really matter how you're playing right now. And that sounds weird, but like when you look back on the season retroactively, no one remembers who was playing well in June, who was playing well in July, August. It's really about how you play the last 2 weeks of September and then obviously into the playoffs. Not saying that none of the games matter now, obviously for standings and everything and awards and just guys overall staying healthy, but at the end of the day, you want to be playing your good baseball. I know it's not rocket science to say you want to be playing your good baseball down the stretch and into the playoffs. Look at the Diamondbacks last year. I mean, the Rangers lost the division on the last day of the year last year, ended up winning the World Series. They had to play in the wild card round against Baltimore. So it's probably the hardest sport to predict in terms of the playoffs. And maybe that's why we love it so much, because you really never know who's going to win. Even the teams that spend the most money, they don't always win.
You want to play whatchamacallit baseball. You want to play Minnesota Twin baseball. Minnesota this year, I read a statistic that Minnesota is like almost like they win 80 to 90% of their games versus sub 500 competition. Now, when they play above 500 competition, they're bang average or below 500 against them. Like you want to stack those wins against those really bad teams of the world, those White Sox, and you want to stack those wins, and then after you stack those wins, you just kind of punch right there at your weight, just a little bit over, and that's it.
Win those games against the teams below 500, and then see if you can sneak into the playoffs and see what happens. That's essentially what the Twins organizational structure is.
Well, are we throwing shots at the Twins organizational structure?
I mean, I feel like so many of those teams that don't spend and can't spend, maybe not can't spend, but don't spend on the level of like the Dodgers, the Yankees, or don't draft or aren't as bad for an entire decade the way the Orioles were. Like that's kind of their strategy. They're not going to go out and try to be the highest payroll and win 110 games. They know their place. They know they're in a bad division, and they're just going to kind of go out and see if they can win the division, sneak into the playoffs, maybe sneak into a wild card with this third wild card, and kind of see what happens in the playoffs. I feel like that is kind of a lot of these team strategies.
Be good for half a decade and then take the other half of the decade to like rebuild. So like,
and it's I mean, you can't really do that anymore, because you can't get top 5 picks in back-to-back seasons now. So if that rule is in place for the Orioles when they were terrible, would they be here? I don't know.
Probably. Because look at what they drafted. Like and I
Yeah,
know,
but my point is like they wouldn't have had back to back, top 5 picks because you
but it,
can't do
but it wouldn't have mattered. I know it's hindsight bias, of 100%. But if you look at their top draft picks, one year it was Adley, and I think it was like the next one was Hairston Kerstad,
that.
who just made the majors this week. Like he's been up and down, not up and down, but like he hasn't had a full run in the major leagues. And then you have what's the guy, Kobe Mayo or Norbert, something like that.
Yeah,
Kobe
Mayo.
Mayo. He was like a second rounder or like a competitive balance pick. Who else? They got Corbin Burns for Joey Ortiz, and Joey Ortiz wasn't a top pick. Who am I missing?
I mean, look at these guys, though. Look at these guys. So 2015, Ryan Mountcastle. 2017, D.L. Hall. Mountcastle was 36th. Yes.
Before you keep going, but you also have to keep in mind it's just like baseball is one of the hardest sports to predict in a draft. And I know we got NBA draft, NHL draft this week. Like in NBA, like the consensus top guys usually like pan out. Like there's a couple diamonds in the rough. Yeah. Hockey, sort of. And then NFL, the same thing. But like with baseball, it's just kind of like, bro, with all the signings and everything, like, was it Brady Aiken? You remember Brady Aiken, Mark Appel? Like it's so hard to predict. Like there was like a stretch of like the late teens where like those top 5 picks, none of them actually turned out to be like ridiculous.
Dustin Ackley is a name that always comes to mind
from North Carolina. Who did he play for? He played for Seattle, right?
Yeah, Seattle, and he also spent some time with the Yankees.
Then Jared Kelnick. I know we all crap on Kelnick, but I like Kelnick. But it's just like he was supposed to be a 5-tool high school guy. The Nick Senzel draft, that was the 2018, I think, or 2017 draft.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
But if you look at that draft class, like those top 5 guys all are like either like, I don't want to call them journeymen, but they're just like, average MLBers. That
2016.
It was Mickey Moniak, Nick Senzel, Ian Anderson, Riley Pint, and Corey Ray as a top 5. Then you have AJ Puck, Braxton Garrett, Cal Quantrill, Matt Manning, and Zach Collins.
It's a really bad draft.
The first All-Star was pick 32, and that was Will Smith.
Yeah. Cole Reagans was 30th. He's going to be an All-Star probably this year.
Pete Alonso, Bo Bichette. Corbin Burns was a 4th rounder. But the whole point is, like, it's difficult. Baseball is a hard game to predict. And what we're going to talk about this podcast is a perfect lead-in. Being such a hard sport to predict, as enthusiasts of the game, we can really, we read enough, we watch a lot, and we look at our advanced metrics as much as we're not supposed to, as much as the old heads would hate that. We sit down and actually take time to do it. But there's some guys that like we honestly fly under the cracks. It happens in the draft. Sometimes there's a good ball player and he falls to the 4th or 5th round. Same thing happens here with us that we can't predict the future. And if we were to predict the future, I know we wouldn't be doing this podcast. We'd probably be, rich on some island, not Epstein's island, somewhere out over yonder. Or we would be working for a professional organization. Yeah. And the whole theme of this podcast is we've each gone through. I know you were working on this last night. We each went through and picked our guys that have had under the radar seasons. And by under the radar, to my criteria, are guys that haven't got as much publicity for what they have done this year. So, for example, when I first started making my list, I put Josh Naylor. But Josh Naylor is leading statistical categories, and he has had his publicity. So we're going to talk about players that haven't been getting any PR. Because right now, a lot of sports right now is a PR machine. Some players have crazy PR and are crazy overrated. Like, don't get me wrong, they're good ball players, but the PR train they have behind them is ridiculous. And it completely boosts them into a whole nother category that they do not belong. So without further ado, take it away, William. Name your first player.
So my first player, I will say, has had a little bit of publicity amongst the local market, and maybe like if you're really in the weeds, not really in the weeds, but if you're a pretty paying attention baseball fan. But I feel like the casuals had written this guy off, and I want to bring him up on this podcast because what he's been doing this year is incredible. And that's the first guy is Stephen Kwan from Cleveland. Him and Naylor are really two of the main reasons that the Indians. Oh, I said it. I meant the Guardians. The reason they're in first place. He's hitting 390 with a 449 OBP. The most staggering stat for me, though, because Kwan was always a contact guy, basic guy, and he still is. He's hitting 390, like I said, but he has a 1.013 OPS. Like, where did that come from this season? 192 WRC plus and a 3.3 Fangraph WAR, which is 8th amongst players with 200 plate appearances. He has more walks than strikeouts. His Savant page is all red in like chase rates, whiff rates, strikeout percentage. Only strikes out 7.2% of the time. Doesn't walk a lot, but like I said, he still walks more than he strikes out. His expecting batting average is a 335. So he's getting slightly lucky, but he's still hitting over 300, even in expecting batting average. He's playing good defense. He's got a 4 outs above average. And he's really just a throwback player. There was an article in The Athletic today about him. Apparently he learned his really good bat to ball skills by playing a lot of pinball when he was a kid, which I found fascinating. Really humble dude. Doesn't love the spotlight, so maybe that's part of the reason he's not getting a lot of publicity, but he's been playing great baseball. In what I said and what we both said was, a needed bounce back season for him, and the Guardians are reaping the rewards. He is like, when your team's playing against him, he's just a nightmare because it always feels like he's going to give you an absolute grind of an at bat and probably get on base. So I got Stephen Kwan, maybe not super under the radar, but for more casual fans, I would say he's definitely flying under the radar.
You know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of the regen Michael Brantley. I don't know, it's just because they played on the Guardians, but like good bat to ball skills. They don't strike out. Like he has a better batter's eye. Like he will give Juan Soto a run for like batter eye. Like he has struck out more since his like rookie year, but like, man, he's really good. Bay Area guy. He went to Oregon State, I believe, right?
Yeah, he went to Oregon State.
Yeah, no, I've been a fan of Kwan, so. Yeah,
he's great. He's great. A lot of fun to watch.
My next guy I'm going to talk about, I think I've talked about him a lot in the podcast. I've been pretty quiet about him in the last couple pods, but I got to keep the fan base rolling. I didn't buy Defense League shares in this guy, but I should have. Anthony Volpe. Anthony Volpe has had a quietly good year. Like, for the start that he had, that everyone was like, oh man, what a start. The guy ranks number 1 in defense.
Yeah.
All of baseball for fielding and positional adjustment combined. He's at 10.5. The next guy is Bobby Witt Jr. at 9.9, and then Francisco Lindor at 9.2. He ranks, guess what, in WAR?
Amongst all position players?
Yes. You're going to be surprised at where he ranks in WAR.
And I was looking at this list earlier. Is he like 8th?
He's 10th.
Okay.
He's tied with Kyle Tucker for 9th. Well, not 9th. Well, he's 10th on the list, which higher than guys like Ellie De La Cruz, Marcell Ozuna, Adley Rutschman, Fernando Tatis Jr., Jordan Westberg, and Jordan Alvarez. Guys that have had great years. He ranks 10th. Like, the dude runs the base pass well as well. He's 10th in base running score. Like, if Bobby Witt Jr. didn't have the year that he had, Anthony Volpe would be the shoe-in starter at shortstop.
Well, don't forget about Gunnar.
But I'm pretty also surprised about that the Yankee PR machine hasn't worked behind him. Like, he is a shortstop, and he's not getting that much publicity for the year that he's having. Granted, he's not having the bat like other players right now. Like, right now he ranks 43rd in batting average, and his WRC plus ranks him at at 68th. But like, he's doing all the little things great, and I think as a Yankee fan, for you, I think you should be very, excited at his progression into the year 2. It kind of puts you excited that you could have a $300 million shortstop.
Yeah, that's a little scary, that number. But
if that bat gets around, you could be having Judge Soto and Volpe. Like, you guys better give him that Enron deal immediately if he gets to that.
yeah.
Or like
Yeah.
seriously, because he's going to be like, if Trey Turner got what was it Lindor got 330, and Trey Turner got a little bit less than that. Like, man, you're going to have to hand the bread out soon for that, man. If that bat continues to progress as it is.
Yeah. He started the season extremely hot, moved up to that leadoff spot. He's cooled off a little bit since, but I think his calling card is the defense and the speed. He's never gotten thrown out trying to steal third base. And he won a Gold Glove last year, and I think he's gotten better defensively at shortstop, which says a lot for a dude that literally just won a Gold Glove. So I think at the bare minimum, you have an average hitter with above average defense, Gold Glove level defense at shortstop, could win another Gold Glove this year, certainly on pace to, and really good speed. So yeah, he's great. He's been a welcome addition. And I think finally, after, probably a decade since Derek Jeter retired, it seems like we finally have a long-term shortstop.
Aren't you excited about the back progression though? Like from year 1 to year 2?
Yes,
like,
he is. And I will say, like, I saw it last year. Dude ended up with 21 home runs. Now his batting average was 209. It was in the dumps, but the average is up to 271 this year. So yeah, he's matured as a hitter. I think he's simplified his swing, made it more repeatable, and he's going to continue to make adjustments and get good at behind the plate. And it's, hitting is really hard. So to make such adjustments at such a young age, I've been really impressed by him. Yeah, he's a lot of fun.
Let's take number 2 for you. Who do you got now?
Yeah, number 2. So I have 2 pitchers and 2 hitters. So my first pitcher is Reynaldo Lopez from Atlanta. I have spoken about him briefly. I think he was in my team of the month for March/April. Main reason I have him on here, he leads the league in ERA with a 1.57. Now, he only pitches every 6th day. The Braves are running a lot of starters out there. He has 13 starts, and he has a 1.57 ERA in 74.1 innings pitched. Mostly a 3-pitch mix, fastball, slider, curve. His pitches have a lot of run, especially that fastball, 12 inches of run. So his pitching run value, which basically just means the ball moves a lot, is in the 100th percentile. Like, the velo isn't crazy, 95 average, which is good. Not, it doesn't blow your socks off anymore, which is crazy to think. But he gets, relatively weak contact, high strikeout rates. And I just think for a dude that's on a World Series contender, I was worried about them a couple of weeks ago, but after watching them this weekend, I think they've steered the ship in the right direction. I still think they need to go out and get another pitcher at the deadline, but Reynaldo Lopez kind of out of nowhere has had a sneaky good season. So I wanted to highlight him here because he does lead the league in freaking ERA, which some people want to argue isn't an important statistic, but I still think it's a great way to measure a pitcher's performance. Maybe not the best, but it's still something you should measure pitchers on.
Talk about that Atlanta Brave pitching lab, man.
Yeah.
Handily, that pitching lab, they've fixed Chris Sale.
Yes.
Granted, like Bryce Elder and the other guys that they've brought up haven't been great, but they're young. But everybody else, like, they fixed up Freed, they fixed up Reynaldo Lopez, who was a reliever, and then Chris Sale. Like, I don't think Morton's still giving you serviceable starts. So like hats off to the pitching lab. I mean, what they're doing out there is like top 5 worthy of that pitching lab. Up there with the Yankees pitching lab, Mariners pitching lab. And I can't think of 2 off the top of my head right now, but those 3 pitching labs this year have done a ridiculous job.
Yeah, and you gotta tip your cap to the Braves for that rotation, considering all the injuries they have right now. Smith, Shower, Strider, obviously, Waldrip, and then a lot of guys in the pen, AJ Minter, and guys like that. So yeah,
and they still got injuries too. They just lost the pitcher today, Ray Kerr, to Tommy John, another one. So. It's not like it's getting any better.
It's every damn day with these Tommy John surgeries. Patrick Sandoval as well. Tommy John. Yeah. I mean, we've reached a crisis mode, I think, with pitching injuries, and something has to change. If this was the NFL, and one aspect of the game was dominating the way pitching is, or if there was this many injuries, concussions, they would make some type of rule change to fix it. And
they've already done with concussions.
I'm saying if the NFL would have already made the rule changes, the MLB has not. Change is always really slow in baseball. I just think with all these pitching injuries, with the way, and there's a really good article in The Athletic today with just the way that pitching injuries and pitching dominance are taking over, more so the pitching dominance and just hitting numbers are down across the board. Something has to change. This isn't a good. People don't want to go to the ballpark to watch players get mowed down for 9 innings. We need more runs. Part of the reason the College World Series has been so exciting, I think, is because there's been so many high-scoring games. So I digress. That was my second guy, Ronaldo Lopez.
Talk about also, I want to give credit to the Phillies pitching lab, which we'll talk about later. They've been top 5 this year. The Phillies pitching lab has done absolute miracles with those guys. Next guy I want to highlight, Joey Ortiz. He was one of the big trade chips coming back from the Corbin Burns. And I think, it's very rare in professional sports, even in baseball, where you see both teams win. And I kind of feel like Milwaukee and Baltimore are happy with their returns. Like, regardless if Corbin Burns walks, I feel like they're very happy they got what they wanted, and Milwaukee has a building block with Joey Ortiz. People expected Jackson Chourio to be that guy as one of the young guys this year in Milwaukee, but it's been Joey Ortiz. He ranks 21st right now in WRC Plus at 138, which puts him above guys like Jose Altuve, Teoscar Hernandez, Ketel Marte, Pete Alonso, CJ Abrams, Vlad Jr. Like, that's pretty good. And to add to that, he's hitting very well. He's 32nd with 278 in batting average, and his WAR is 23rd at 2.5, putting him above guys like Rafi Devers, Jordan Alvarez, and Teoscar Hernandez, and Corey Seager. So, I feel like both teams will be very happy with the return. Joey Ortiz has been great. I don't know what they're going to do in Milwaukee in the middle of the diamond with Terang and Ortiz. Obviously, I don't think a diamond fits in with the future plans. But obviously, they're cooking something up in Milwaukee that I feel like, fans could get excited for in the next 2 to 3 seasons.
Yeah, Ortiz I think this is a really good pick. So hats off. Very under the radar. Look at his walk rates, 13.9%, 97th percentile right there. Strikes out 16% of the time, which is an 82 percentile stat. Whiff rates, chase rates, bat speed, all really good. Plays above average defense with a 6 outs above average. He has been an undeniable success, huge success for the trade with Corbin Burns. Yeah, they gave up Corbin Burns, but guess what? The Brewers are arguably better than they were last season. Yeah, 1-0 Florida.
Boom!
He just really loves Joey Ortiz. He just really loves
the Canadians. Pause. I love my Canadians, but
it's all right. You're in the heat of the moment.
We are in America. We need Kendrick Lamar out here just to sprinkle in some more salt in the wound.
He's also got an 832 OPS, which is not too shabby. New Mexico State product. So shout out to Joey Ortiz. I think that's a really good pick by you.
Yeah. Also with Joey Ortiz, he's also a rookie, and he had better AAA numbers. He had better minor league numbers, which minor league is a tough predictor, but some of those things, you just obviously the stuff gets better, but your batter's eye just doesn't decrease. Maybe the velo's a little higher and the stuff's like that, but if you can read pitches, you're not going to lose that skill. That's such a transferable skill.
I would agree. Yes, totally. All right, my next guy, I'm going to AL East. I'm going to the rival. I'm going to Jarren Duran. After watching this guy last weekend,
he's been crazy good.
Diving into his numbers, he's been incredibly impressive, especially in the month of June. But on the season, as I pull up his June numbers, he's hitting 289 on the season with an 836 OPS, 7 home runs, and 20 stolen bases. He actually just picked up a stolen base tonight. Had 2 against the Yankees last night on Sunday Night Baseball. He's also playing elite defense in left field. He's got a 6 outs above average, think he plays some center as well for Boston.
Yeah, he plays. He before you get into it, he's having like an Alec Bohm resurgence, is what I would like to call this.
Yeah. So okay, I have his June numbers: 384 batting average with 4 home runs and 9 stolen bases, 198 WRC plus, and he's third in Fangraphs WAR, really tied for second amongst position players, only behind Gunnar Henderson and Aaron Judge for the month of May. So he's ahead of guys like Bryce Harper. Royce Lewis has been incredible since coming back from the injured list. Ohtani, like Tatis, he's third in the entire league. I think he's making a very good case to be an all-star this season. I don't know how much of a hot take that is because transparently, I have not been too locked in on the all-star voting. I don't really like to pay attention to the ballots. I like to kind of make my own assessments on the all-star stuff, and we'll do that next week. But yeah, I just wanted to note Jarren Duran because I think, certainly last year and the year before, Red Sox fans were worried about him becoming like, long-term piece. He's 27 now. I think he's looking like the cornerstone of that franchise.
He'll be one of the pieces to build around. Maybe they move him. I could see them.
Oh, the thing is, though, they're in the wild card spot right now. They're going to be. Yeah.
But it's just like long term. It's just like I don't know what their timeline is.
Boom!
What, you're ahead? No! Freaking Bobrovsky sucks. Oh my god! This is positive. Like, why, bro? This dude, freaking Bobrovsky, he's just terrible. Send him back to Columbus. He's another freaking Ohio State freaking absolute. Oh my god! There's so many things I want to say, but I'm on air right now. So regardless,
little live watch party, Stanley Cup Final Game 7. We never watch hockey. I don't watch hockey until tonight, basically.
Well, I've been watching hockey. I'm so locked in. I've been watching the Panthers since the first round of the series, man. I've been a fan since a month and a half ago. I'm like, might as well hop on the bandwagon. I will be shameless about it. Oh my god, Bobrovsky, use your fucking pad. But regardless, back to Jarren Duran. With Jarren Duran and I don't know what they're gonna do. They have a lot of outfield prospects. They got Roman Anthony. They just signed up the guy you picked up. I don't know how to say his name.
Rafaela, yeah.
Cedar Rafaela, and they got a lot of outfield pieces. They got Tyler O'Neill also. So it's just gonna be interesting. What do the Red Sox do moving forward? He used to be a guy that they didn't like. Boston fans did not like for how he played, and it's sort of like Alec Bohm that he's just surged and coming into a great spot.
Yep, he's in a good spot. I like him a lot. Your next guy,
Mackenzie Gore, flying beyond the radar. Probably is going to be all-star, which it's going to be interesting. It'll be a debate for us to have next week between C.J. Abrams, Mackenzie Gore, and Kyle Finnegan for the representative for the Nationals, because each three have a good case. With Mackenzie Gore, he ranks 18th in Fangraphs WAR at 2.1. And he has been a pretty close to elite this year. He has been an absolute stud. He's 6-6. His ERA is 3.49, but his FIP is 2.83. He's doing a great job doing what he does best, striking out guys. And he ranks 8th in K per 9 with 11.03. And I kind of feel like the Nationals finally have a cornerstone with him in the rotation. And I kind of feel like they're looking as clear winners in the Juan Soto trade with C.J. Abrams. And if they can somehow get those guys that they still have in the minor leagues like James Wood to produce and Robert, I think you have Robert Hassel as well. They'll clearly run away with the Soto trade.
Yeah. And the fact that, Soto isn't even on the Padres anymore. I know they got a return with Drew Thorpe and all that stuff, which Drew Thorpe's now with the White Sox for the
But they got Dylan Cease, and Dylan Cease has been in the conversation for Cy Young prior to the last 2 or 3 starts that he's been absolutely just piñataed.
Yeah, so you kind of have to that Soto trade has blossomed into so many more trades that it's kind of hard to track at this point. But back to Gore, you mentioned the fastball or the strikeout rate, 28.2%. That's in the 85th percentile. Mostly fastball, 55% fastball, which has a 96.5% average velo, which is in the 89th percentile. So a lot of red there. Fastball, curve, slider, change, 4 picks mix. I've always liked him. It's just a matter of time before he put things together. He's only 25 years old, number 3 overall pick in the 2017 draft. Yeah, he's been good. Last start was okay. Went 5, gave up 4, but the start before that went 7, only gave up 1 run against a bad Miami team.
Yeah, it was Friday night. I was at the bar playing pool, and I was watching the start at like 2 a.m. in the morning. You know how Bally Sports has like the reruns?
Yeah.
It was like 2 a.m. My buddies were playing pool, and I'm watching the game just like tired. I'm like, oh man, this guy's like playing pretty well. Like,
yeah. For me, it's always in the gym in the morning. The next day, they got the NBC Sports Chicago playing the White Sox recap, which is always just brutal scenes to watch. Anyway, my next guy, I think that's a good pick there as well. My last guy, going with the hometown guy, Eric Fedde from the White Sox.
He's been good. He's been real nice.
Yeah, he's had some bad starts, but I actually got to see him pitch twice, once against the Cubs in the crosstown game, and then once against the Orioles. He was really good against the Orioles. Let me pull up his exact stats for that game because he was really impressive.
He was a KBO guy, one of those guys. He's always a top prospect for the in the national system, and then he just didn't pan out. Went to the KBO, came back this year, and he's been a revelation, man. He played for the NC Dinos.
Yeah, 6 1/3, 3 hits, no earned runs against the Orioles on May 25th. I was at that game. He was really good. Sinker, cutter, sweeper, change, really mixes those pitches well. Gets a lot of great run on them. Doesn't really give up hard hits, because his sinker averages like 93 miles an hour. So he's more of a movement type of guy, weak contact kind of guy. Doesn't strike out a ton of guys, only 22%, which is in the about average, but doesn't walk guys. The ERA on the season is a 3.05, which is pretty good. If you're talking about like White Sox All-Star Game representatives, you're probably thinking Garrett Crochet, but he would probably be second behind him. And he only has a year left on his contract after the season. So I think he could be one of the bigger pitching arms, one of the bigger arms moved at the deadline. I think the White Sox need to move this guy, sell while the price is high, while his stock is high. And I would love a team like, obviously the Yankees, but one team, and they traded over the offseason, I think it was the Nicky Lopez deal, go out and bring him to Atlanta. I think he would be a nice addition for them.
Talk about that. Regarding Eric Fedde, you're watching this year, I feel like the future of pitching is in the sinker. I feel like the sinker, the splinker, whatever you want to call it, I feel like that's like the future of like pitching. I feel like we went through a little bit of a phase of the breaking ball. Everybody trying to get the breaking ball. I know
the sweeper,
the gyro ball, the sweeper. I feel like the future now is in the sinker, because if it's not a pitch that's going to come out high velo, unless you do want to throw a 96-mile-an-hour sinker in on the hands, but you're going to induce a lot of ground ball contact. And if you have good defense and a nice park, obviously you want to keep the ball out of the air. So I kind of feel like the sinker or the splinker is like the future of what we're going to get pitching into.
And I think that's a good point, especially if teams and organizations try to start moving away from just swing and miss all the time, because they realize maybe that's part of the reason that there's been so many injuries. Let's move into more weak contact, maybe less stress on the arm, just going full speed, full bar. Sinker is still obviously a hard pitch to throw, but maybe it's not as hard on the arm as just ripping 99, 100-mile-an-hour fastballs over and over again. I don't know.
Go look at the top guys this year. What are they throwing? What does Ranger Suarez throw? What is he known for?
Yeah.
What is Paul Skeens throwing right now?
Paul Skeens is nasty.
He is generational.
On everything, yeah. He's pretty incredible.
He is generational, and I don't need to like toot on his horn even more, because if he comes to Miami, I'm there. I'm watching the guy. But,
I think he should be an all-star. He should be on that team.
Bro, we're gonna have a big issue with Rookie of the Year.
Well, Shota's been struggling.
Yeah, but are we gonna? What are we gonna do? Are we gonna give? It's gonna be something like. Obviously, he's been struggling since the Angel Reese picture. But but like it's gonna be very interesting because I feel like both of them will have really good resumes. And I mean, Skeens has the PR, and rightfully so has the PR. But like, Shota has pitched more.
Can I just say though,
But
not to pat myself on the back too much, but
oh yeah, you said the Shota thing. You said that once the ball got hot, that ball was gonna fly out of Wrigley real quick.
yeah. And look at his most recent start. I think it was Saturday against the Mets.
No, it was the Friday start that they put up 11.
Yeah, three innings, 10 earned runs. I mean, that's going to inflate your ERA.
No, literally when I was making my pick on Thursday night for locks of the week, I was like, something just gave me a feeling like Shota's just going to get absolutely destroyed by the Mets. The Grimace Mets are just going to absolutely just hit them for the 220 game. Like, I'm telling you right now, like, I just knew it. I don't know. My intuition speaks to me sometimes. Regardless, next guy, another weird pitcher. We're going to talk about Matt Waldron. He's been the knuckleball pitcher that nobody wants to face on MLB The Show. He currently has an 8.21 K per 9, which ranks 43rd. And his WAR is at 1.7, which surprisingly puts him at 31st in all of Major League Baseball. He has been a revelation for the Padres. Talk about a guy that nobody knew last year, been an absolute revelation to fill those back half of the Padres rotation. This year, he has, I lost his stat. Okay. His ERA, and I just lost his ERA. Yep. Oh, there it is.
I got it.
Yeah, okay. With 3.46 ERA.
Yeah.
Expected FIP is like just right around. But like the guy is been pitching well. So like for a guy that you don't expect much, mainly like a filler guy for that rotation, he's actually turned out to potentially be their game 3 starter.
Yeah, he's been really good.
Him or Michael King for a game 3 playoff game, if the Padres can get there.
He's been really fun to watch just because he's a throwback. I mean, baseball's more fun with knuckleballers. It's just one of those cool quirks that baseball has. So I've enjoyed watching him out in SD. Mixes in a fastball too. Like the knuckleballs average 77 miles an hour, and then the fastball is 91. So that's a pretty tough velocity split there for opposing batters. He's been really he's been great in his 15 starts this season. And that rotation, maybe you want to lump the Padres into that discussion of pitching labs this year.
The Padres have literally run out like Randy Vasquez, Michael King, and just like you would expect that to be like their Achilles heel, but they've actually been like punching right at their weight, like doing just enough not to be like the part. But of course, the Padres don't care. The Padres just want to go buy more names and buy more offense because that hey, runs bring in fans and runs bring wins. Cool, yeah, but they're 41-41. They're bang average. They're mid. So.
But they're right in that thick of the NL wildcard race. That is
exactly.
This year.
I got a couple honorable mentions. I just want to shout out J.J. Bleday. Talk about him. You're a big fan of him. He's had a good year. They're winning the trade this year. Josh Smith for Texas. Utility guy, played really well this year. Christopher Sanchez just got the bag, yet again, pitching lab for Philadelphia. Tanner Beebe for Cleveland, also been pitching pretty well. And then Brian Wu, who just came back from injury. And again, the Mariners have 5 guys they can trot out and give you issues in a playoff series.
Those are all great picks.
Any guy you want to elaborate on? I know you're a big J.J. Bleday believer.
Yeah, I've always been a big believer in the Vandy guys. He's been good. 253 average, 803 OPS, 11 home runs on the season, 26 years old. He's looking like maybe he can be a piece for them moving forward. Maybe in that outfield alongside Brent Rooker. The A's aren't horrible.
That doesn't exist in Oakland. Pieces and cornerstones don't exist.
I know. Maybe as they move to Las Vegas or Sacramento, they maybe try to build some semblance of a core as they move into Las Vegas in 4 years at this point, 5 years.
Yeah, you are basically Oakland A's players, and this might sound bad, but you're basically to them like we lease cars. You were there for whatever the lease is, 4 years, and then you can either re-sign them and give them the contract, or you can just go get a new one. And for Oakland, they just rather just turn you out for 5 new ones. So
Yeah, and it's going to be impossible for them to recruit free agents until they reestablish their reputation. Because I think there was like an anonymous survey in The Athletic where basically all the players said that like the one team they would not want to go to play for is the A's. And obviously there's a lot of reasons for that, but just the way the reputation they've established themselves over the past decade, or maybe over the past 5 years or so, just they're going to have to draft well. Just say that.
Hey, money talks, man. That's all I'll say. Money talks. And when when they're the only door knocking, and they're giving you 5 M's. Taxes may suck in California, but 5 M's is 5 M's.
Yeah.
Let's talk about last week. Rickwood Field game was on June 20th on Thursday. I tuned into it. I was watching. I was sort of in and out watching it, but I watched it. It was a cool experience.
It was a great game. I think they should do it every single year. I don't know if they will. I really love the half inning where they did the black and white retro inning telecast. It was a good game too. I mean, Cardinals won, I think it was 6-5, a little back and forth game, a really cool venue. A lot of really powerful stories, obviously, with Willie Mays passing away a couple of days before. Legend of the game, Reggie Jackson came on, had some really tough to hear stories, but I think needed to be heard. And it just really, reminds you of the history of the game, all the things that have, transpired and led us to where we are today. A lot of great heroes and a lot of great players that unfortunately never got the chance to play in the major leagues. So great, like for a history buff like myself, really, really cool game to see. And I really want to see them do it every year. I don't know if they will. Maybe there's other stadiums around the country that from the Negro leagues that they can go play at. This is obviously the main one. I think it's the oldest stadium in baseball right now that's still active. So overall great event. I think I liked it more than the Field of Dreams game, which was, those were incredible.
Well, you're a history buff. You obviously enjoy more the history than just the entertainment aspect. One's Hollywood, the other one's, actually a part of history. And it actually, I'm just glad that the major leagues has decided, maybe it was a little bit too long, but I'm actually glad that they decided to implement and, it's baseball. It's a part of our game. It's a part of our history. And they decided to incorporate it and, that we can actually go back and look back and see that. Actually pretty sad that we lost Willie Mays last week. A great player. Never got to watch him because, we're only like 25, 27, so regardless, we're young, but, just looking at his numbers, you can go more in depth. Like the dude was just generational. Like he's probably on like the Mount Rushmore of baseball players. If you think about it, it's probably Babe Ruth, like from hitter's perspective, Babe Ruth, Willie Mays, Jackie, and
Hank Aaron.
Hank's on it. And then Roberto Clemente. Those are probably your 5 on the Rushmore. That's the top 5.
Well, Barry, you maybe lump Barry Bonds in there if you're of that.
I would, but it's just like those guys are just like, I don't think there's a lot of modern day players that would make it.
Yeah. Well, and that speaks to the way the game is now.
I feel like you have to like divide, you have to divide everything pre-19. It's like, before, I'm not religious or spiritual, but it's just like, how they talk about AD, BC. Like, I think we're going to have to do that to the record books.
Maybe they can do like pre-94, 95 strike, post-94, 95 strike, or pre-steroid era, post-steroid era. There should be a line of demarcation. But yeah, Willie Mays, really sad. Only player with 400 doubles, 100 triples, 330 home runs, 250 stolen bases. And that's just incredible. He's the only player to put up those numbers. He was good at literally everything, and he was the best defensive player ever. Obviously had that famous over-the-shoulder catch. Played with an enthusiasm. Like, he's kind of one of those names that's just synonymous with baseball. He's one of those names like Babe Ruth, where even if you're not a baseball fan, you know who Willie Mays is. You know that Willie Mays is associated with baseball. I mean, ever since I was a little kid, 4, 5, 6 years old, I knew about Willie Mays. He's just one of those names. He was an absolute icon. And it's really sad because like so many of these really old, or not really old, but really, classic baseball players like Hank Aaron, Al Kaline, Willie Mays, they're all like dying right now. It sucks. All those legends that we grew up learning about. Honus Wagner's been dead for a long time.
I know, but there's just a lot of players we don't know about that we never got to watch. Like, I mean, freaking Pete Rose, they've eliminated him from like all of baseball history. But I feel like when you have that amount of hits, like that's an actual skill. It's just like why I feel like Barry Bonds has a case. And I don't want to open that can of worms out because we can go on and on and on. But like, pre-steroids with steroid, like, look, I can go juiced up right now. Go get a syringe, put it up my butt, and go try to hit a baseball, and I'll probably look like crap.
You'll still be terrible. No offense.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I'll be terrible.
Yeah.
It's just like you don't hit 750 plus, more than 756 home runs just off of just like, oh, I injected myself in a needle. It's like marketing when we were kids. Like when we were kids, and not so much anymore because media has changed. You would have those basketball shoes ads. Oh, the LeBrons, the Kobe's, and it's like, oh, I always thought if I got the shoes, I would play like Kobe, right? I play like that. So I was like, I just need the shoes and I'll be good. So it doesn't work like that. No, not at all.
No. Yeah. So anyway, absolute legend. You have a question on here. Where should the MLB go next?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Because I mean, Field of Dreams is coming back eventually because they're doing those like renovations to make it more of a of a museum. I mean, it'll be interesting. I don't know if Cooperstown would actually bring a lot of fans in.
Ooh, that would be a good one. Tough place to get to. Yeah. One that I thought about this afternoon. I thought it was relevant with given the fact that they're going on right now, but have a game at the College World Series in Omaha.
That would actually be pretty cool at the same time, or right after the World Series. Yeah, and like
or maybe like in the gap between the semifinals and the final where there's like a day off. The scheduling might be a little tough just because you don't exactly know what day, but there's so many fans there. They're rabid baseball fans, different type of fan, the college baseball fan than the MLB fan, but
they love their Jello shots.
They love the Jello shots. That would be a great atmosphere. And I think, MLB loves to tie like back to the Little League or their history. They don't really get into the college game a lot outside of the draft. I think there's an opportunity there. And I also just want to say, I think MLB probably does the best job of these, unique one-off games across all of the major sports. Like NBA,
they do more of a historical aspect to it.
They have the Field of Dreams game. They have the Little League game. They have the Rickwood Field game. They used to have the Civil Rights game in Memphis in the preseason. Right. There's probably some other one, the London game, Mexico City. Like, where's the NFL? NFL.
Little League World Series.
Yeah. The NFL doesn't care. They just go anywhere that's going to give them money, like Frankfurt, Germany.
Brazil. They're going to Brazil.
But there's nothing unique about those games. They're just in other countries. Baseball does a really good job of like tying back to history. The NFL could play a game in a college football stadium, or they could go back and play in like one of the old football stadiums that's still standing, like the Yale Bowl or something crazy. I don't know. They don't really do that. They just kind of shell out money from whoever's going to get, or they take the money from whoever's going to give it. NBA doesn't really do anything special. So I think Major League Baseball by far does the best job with these games. They do pretty well ratings wise. So I think they're definitely formulating ideas in the front office, and they're trying to come up with more.
Probably Cooperstown's probably next. If I were to be a betting guy, Cooperstown. NHL does a good job in doing it, but it's more so just like, they go exotic locations. Like where can we like? It's just like where can we put a hockey rink and push limits and make it like feel like just absolutely dumb. For example, I remember the one that everybody loved was the Big House when it was the Red Wings versus the Maple Leafs, and then the one that was between Buffalo and Pittsburgh where it literally started to torrentially snow. But then we have ones in like freaking New York, or not New York, in LA Stadium Series. So I kind of feel like baseball does a good job. Cooperstown would be a good idea. I don't know where else you could put a baseball game, because I don't need a London game, to be honest. Like, it's cool, but I really don't.
I don't need it either.
I'd rather have like a Dominican game or something like that.
That would be awesome.
The Dominican series or a Puerto Rico or something like that. That would be, well, they used to have the Puerto Rico series, but I don't know. There's just not many like iconic, because like those old ballparks got torn down. For example, we don't have the Bowling.
I know. It's sad. We don't have Ebbets Field. We don't have the old Yankee Stadium, which I miss dearly.
You actually wrote a letter to the city of New York. I remember reading that when I was like, right when we became friends. Like I remember you showed me it, or like we read it that you wrote to the yeah. But
To
yeah,
keep the stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the Polo Ground? So how many home runs would get hit in that one?
To left and right. Oh my gosh. It would be amazing. It would be so fun.
And covering center, bro. They need to bring back the hill in freaking Minute Maid.
That would be funny. They should do that.
Bro, the thing is, like, our kids will never know, like, some of the most exotic, like, because that everything's like so uniform. Like, they will never know about freaking, the hill on in Minute Maid Park. That just hill in center field. That guys would be like, oh crap, I have to like literally run up.
I think the last one is maybe Wrigley Field with the ivy and the brick wall in the outfield. And that'll probably, if I had to make a prediction, eventually get changed to padding.
And probably the Red Sox with the Green Monster.
Yeah, that's unique.
In the Penske pool. But that's it. There's nothing else. Yankee Stadium, short porch, Crawford boxes. I feel like, Houston's just such a, like, I know we crap on Houston, but that's such a little league park.
Little league park. It's so bad.
It's like, God, go play like at the Rocky Stadium, man. Let's see how many home runs you can actually hit with like humidified balls out there.
You want to get into some just around the league quick?
Yeah, let's round up. We talked about the Mets. They're 9-2 since Grimace threw the first pitch. How about that? 7-game winning streak, and they're now in the mix. The only negative is that Edwin Diaz suffered another, blow to his season, that he got caught with sticky stuff last night against the Cubs. But talk about those Mets.
I don't know where they came from because I kind of had written them off, but they're leading the league in OPS in June with an 842 OPS. They're 5th in home runs with 30. Batting average in June, they're 3rd. They have not lost a series since Grimace threw out that first pitch. Heading into June, they were 24-33. There were only 2 NL teams with worse records, the Rockies and the Marlins. They're 13-6 in June, and they're just 1 game out of the NL wildcard spot. Francisco Alvarez and Mark Vientos have been great, but also Brendan Nimmo has a 950 OPS in June.
Okay.
JD Martinez has come around. Pete Alonso. Lindor hit his 13th home run yesterday. And the bullpen's been really good. Sean Reed-Foley also just got placed on the IL, unfortunately. Daniel Nunez, Danny Young, and Adrian Hauser have all been really good in the pen. Like, they're not going to win the division by any stretch of the imagination, but that wild card's, man, it's anyone can get there. And somehow, some way, the Mets might be in that mix. They might not be sellers at the deadline. It's just so weird.
I bought into those Mets, man. Joe Espada, bring back the Joe Espada National League Manager of the Year train.
If they make the playoffs, I think they might be in that discussion, even though they have the highest payroll in the entire sport. But yeah, a lot of that's for guys that aren't on the roster.
But like, talk about how big of it's a good segue. Talk about the mess that is the wild card. Like, the only 2 teams out of it are the Marlins and Rockies. But let's be honest, like, those are the only 2 like clear sellers. But like, looking at how it is a mess, I feel like the next 2 weeks we can actually like see some separation. I think the Reds are going to fall off. I think the Giants are going to fall off. Cubs have just been absolutely terrible. So I can see any 4 of those teams just falling off the face of the earth and becoming sellers. I don't think the Reds really sell, but I think the Giants might look to, I don't know. They're just teams in really hard positions because the Giants, Reds, Cubs don't really have things of value that other teams would want. And the things that do have value are just unmovable pieces. For example, the Giants, I don't think move Camilo Doval. No. And I don't think you get a good return because you have guys like Tanner Scott available. The Reds, the only thing you want on the Reds is probably Ali De La Cruz.
Yeah. I mean, they're just so banged up.
They've been really banged up. And I think those arms that they have, for example, maybe an Ashcraft, Frankie Montas haven't pitched that great, and I don't think you're going to get top dollar. That you're just better off just trying and seeing what happens with the rest of the season, And it's just very interesting to see what's going to happen. I'm very surprised that the Cardinals, the freaking Cardinals, have somehow, I don't know, man. Like, I'm just so anti-St. Louis. Like they should just blow it up, start again, just like do a mini blow up, do a Milwaukee. Like they'd just be
They're in that spot, second wild card. They have the NL's best record since May 12th, somehow, some way.
yeah, but they have Pittsburgh, and I'm really interested to see what Pittsburgh does. I would really like to see Pittsburgh go for it. I mean, you have Skeens, Jones, and sweeper guy. Who's on my
Mitch
team?
Keller?
Mitch Keller. You have those three guys. You have a good pen with Chapman and Bednar at the end of the back half. Like you have pedigree there with Chapman. Go just want to, go get one or two bats and see what happens. You don't know, weird things have happened before.
I got two questions. First one, do you think these expanded playoffs are good for the sport? All this congestion?
There's awful.
Yeah.
Like I've been on the record with many of my friends have called me and they're like, "Oh, Luis, what do you think about the season?" I'm like, this is probably going to be one of the worst trade deadlines because it's just giving teams false sense of hope when teams need it. And I don't need half of the league making the playoffs. We look at NBA and we complain, why do half of the teams make it? Like, do we really need to see an NBA? Did we really need to see the freaking Atlanta Hawks play the Miami Heat in a playing game? Did we really need to see the Chicago Bulls get blown out for the second year in a row by the Miami Heat? Like, did we need to see that? No. Did we really need, maybe like on the other side where there's more parity, like in the West, maybe yes. But did we really need to see like some teams make it? Like, it just gives a false sense of security. When you look at the Padres and Cardinals, like, are they really going to be World Series contenders? Absolutely not. They should, they're just better off selling, starting again. But, hey, it's dollar signs.
Yep. It's all about the money. I agree. I've thought about this for a while. I think I'm finally coming to the take that I do not like the expanded wild card. And I say that as a Yankee fan whose team is not in that situation right now. But I think it gives teams false sense of hope. And it also gives a team last year's Diamondbacks gives a lot of these teams false hope in the sense that, hey, we can sneak into the third wild card and make the World Series. When more often than not, it's probably not going to happen. And it's certainly not worth holding on to valuable trade pieces at the trade deadline to maybe sneak in to the playoffs. Another example, and it's maybe not the best one, but the Angels refused to sell at the deadline last year because they were in the playoff mix, and look where they are now. Didn't get anything back for Ohtani, and they have the worst farm system in baseball. One of the, it's cool, I guess, if you're a fan of one of those teams, but I don't like it. And my second question is, out of the teams that are jockeying for those wild card spots, maybe let's say the third wild card spot, which one do you want to see make it the most? I think there's a right answer to this question.
There's two actually, but more so, I'd like to see the Pirates make it because I feel like they can actually pitching wins you games in the postseason. As much as we fall in love with scoring runs, pitching is what what my biggest MO is. If I am a contender, I need a guy as a manager that I can be like, yo, I'm giving you the ball. That I know I can give the ball. I sit back and I just watch.
Yep.
And I actually have one guy that can do that. That you can just give him the ball, and you sit back. You pop a cigar in, you get a nice drink, and you just watch, and then you come back 7 innings later and be like, all right, you feeling all right? All right, okay, let's go get to the pen.
Yep.
And the Pirates actually can do that because you get Skeens, and then you bridge into Chapman, and then you bridge into Bednar. Boom, perfect. Game. That's game, set, match. You already have a win. You just have to find a way to win 2 more of those or extend it to get them the game again, supposedly. So
So if you're the Braves and you're the 3 seed, which it's looking like they're going to be the 3 seed, you are praying that you do not see Pittsburgh in the first round. Can you imagine Paul Skeens versus the Braves? Whew, that would be a lot of fun.
I think Braves fans would drink bleach. I think they might drink bleach. After everything they've been through to get one World Series and been there very close, I think they would actually jump off a bridge. I feel like they would find they would literally go into the Georgia Dome when it was getting imploded and just kill me now.
All right.
No, that is the worst. That is the worst case scenario. I would actually it doesn't happen a lot, but I would actually try to get the 5th seed. That's why the same thing I go with the Yankees series. If you're in Yankees or Baltimore, you're not going to tank, but do you want to see go at it against Baltimore or go at it against New York and then have to face them immediately that next round?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about that, Chief.
Yeah.
You want to talk about injuries quickly? Because that's the only thing we got left. Because we talked about the AL East being the only division, being with the race. Yeah, Houston's hot, pushing Seattle, but Seattle's up ahead. But injury-wise, there's a lot of injuries. We talked about Stanton, Rizzo. Luzardo landed on the 60 with a stress reaction, which killed the trade value.
Yeah.
Bradish got TJ. I mean, that pitching lab in Baltimore just breeds Tommy John pitchers at this point, with John Means, Tyler Wells, and Felix Bautista already out with Tommy John. So they're definitely going to be in the market for a pitcher. It's just a matter of not when, it's who. And the thing is like there's not many. Jack Flaherty, they're not going to call back up. So
Eric Fetty?
I don't know. I think you got to go big game hunting. I think you have to go big because I think this is their window. I think this is the year that you have to go get the big fish. Yeah. All the prospects, get the big guy, and just go for it. You know, if you get Corbin Burns and another big name pitcher, I would take them and a big name pitcher over whatever New York can put out. As much as I believe into like Heel and all them, Corbin Burns is just a different level of pitcher, and whoever else is better than, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, he's not Garrett Cole, but I agree.
Dodgers lost Mookie with a hand fracture 6 to 8 weeks. Yamamoto, we don't know when he's coming back. Strained rotator cuff, had tricep tightness, but it was a strained rotator cuff. Walker Buehler has hip discomfort on the IL, and then Kershaw suffered a setback this week and reported the shoulder soreness, but the MRI came back clean.
Dodgers are banged up.
But what's crazy about the Dodgers is that it's scary because they're going to be a player now in the trade market. Like they were, of course, but now they're going to be more so. And if there's a team you don't want doing it, you don't want them because they have a deep system.
Yeah, they got Kevon Biggio, which obviously that was a minor signing, but they still have a good farm. Unfortunately for them, Diego Cartaya has fallen off a cliff. Their former top catching prospect. He's been poor, but Dalton Rushing is kind of the big name there now. River Ryan is kind of a name.
Andy Pages, River Ryan. Gavin Stone can get flipped. Bobby Miller can get flipped. All those guys can get flipped. It's World Series or bust for them. And if you don't win a World Series with that team, I think there's somebody's losing a job.
It's World Series or bust every single year of that Ohtani contract. It's World Series or bust.
And they've fallen short of expectations so many years. So they're going to have to do something if they don't win. And I mean, when you look at them, Max Muncy's on the IL as well. He got transferred to the 60. Like they're going to need some bats. And I've been saying it from the start. That back half of the lineup doesn't inspire any fear into me. I am more fearful of whatever Atlanta puts out, or Baltimore, or even New York for as bad of hitters that New York's been having, like that. And it's just going to be very interesting, and they're going to drive a lot of prices up. So if you're a selling team, the only bats I can think of is you got Jazz Chisholm. I don't know if that's Luis Robert hasn't played great. Like there's a lot of talented guys out there, but it really hurts Seattle, to be honest. For a team that doesn't have that deep of a prospect as LA, it's going to hurt them because LA will be big game hunting. They will be trying to do it. Mm-hmm. Teams like Seattle, Cleveland, so.
Yeah, Cleveland has a good farm. Seattle, not so much.
Yeah, and then finally we lost Bo Bichette went on the IL, and then Aurelvis Martinez, their top prospect, got called up, but then he got popped with the PEDs for 80 games for a fertility drug as he was trying to start a family. Unfortunate.
Hey, that's unfortunate. He won't be back until like the last weekend of the season. The Blue Jays have had an absolute nightmare of a season. Nothing's going right up there. I think they're going to be a key seller this year.
Bichette, I think you get a huge return on Bichette.
If they're 6.5 games out of the wild card, they're not going to win the AL East. Bichette would be a huge name to move if he can get healthy. I mean, do you move Vlad? I don't know. I think
Bichette's going to have so huge of a market because there's so many teams needing shortstop upgrades.
Yeah, there's only so many good shortstops in the league. Springer, I think, could be moved. Kiermaier for a defensive center fielder. I mean, do you get rid of Gosman, Barrios, just strip it and start clean with like Tiedemann as the guy? I don't know. It's tough. They went from that brief moment in time where we thought Ohtani was going to Toronto to like 35 and 42 right now.
So my question is, who moves, Tucker or Bichette? You've got to pick one.
Tucker.
Or Bichette? Which one do you think moves?
Oh, Kyle Tucker or at the deadline? Probably Bichette because the Astros are not out of it.
Bro, the thing is, so many teams need shortstop. I know Cleveland fans, one of my buddies is a huge fan. He's like, oh, bring me a shortstop upgrade. And then LA needs shortstop. Because you can theoretically move Mookie back into the outfield and do that. And who else would need? I mean, the Yankees are fine at shortstop. Phillies are fine at shortstop. Maybe Atlanta can get crazy and get a Bichette and pull in Bichette. Crazy.
Let's not act like Bichette's been amazing this year, though. His value is low, so maybe it's more of a change of scenery, buy low type deal.
But it's a clear upgrade to guys like Miguel Rojas. I don't even know who Cleveland's running out at shortstop. And
Brian Rocchio.
He's a top guy, but I mean, Cleveland's in it, and you're looking at building blocks. Because if you buy Bichette, you're looking at a building block. So, let's talk about the draft's coming up next month.
Yeah.
We're going to do a draft podcast talking about the top guys. It's between Bonanza, Charlie Condon, Jack Caglione, J.J. Weatherholt, Hagen Smith, and Chase Burns all in the mix for number one. What do you got locked this week? Let's talk about betting this week. Who do you got locked this week?
Yeah, I'm excited for the draft. I'm going to go with a little bit of a surprise one. I'm going Minnesota over Seattle, Friday through Sunday series here. Minnesota is traveling from Arizona. They're on their West Coast trip. They play Arizona Thursday. They were in LA or they were in Oakland over the weekend. And then they're playing Seattle over the weekend. This weekend, Seattle is traveling back from Tampa on Wednesday all the way for a Friday game in Seattle, which is like one of the longest flights in MLB. So this is kind of my classic fade here. Seattle lost 2 of 3 in Miami over the weekend. They've been really good. Overall in the month, the pitching's been great. Logan Gilbert's been incredible. But I like Minnesota kind of being out on the West Coast. Seattle traveling back is tough. Friday night. What'd you say?
It's a 6-hour flight.
Yeah, super long.
Yeah.
Logan Gilbert versus Bailey Ober on Friday. You got Bryce Miller versus Pablo Lopez on Saturday and Brian Wu versus Joe Ryan on Sunday. So Twins have been playing better baseball of late too. They are in that second wildcard spot in the American League, 7-3 in their last 10. Won that series in Oakland over the weekend. And I think they finish off their West Coast trip strong with series wins over Arizona and Seattle, which is my pick for it this week.
Yeah, and Seattle's been on the road since last week. They've been doing their East Coast trip. They were in Miami last weekend. Then they lost a Friday night. Tim Anderson had a walk-off Friday. Good, my guy.
He's still playing. Shout out to him.
He's hitting 300 in the month of June. Hey, he went on bereavement. He's back. We're cooking. TA fan club. We back.
Trade piece?
Potentially. I mean, some team can get crazy with it. Yeah, but they were in Cleveland, then they came down here to Miami, and then they were in Tampa. And the Tampa to it's a 30-minute jet from here from Miami, but the Tampa from Seattle flight's a 6-hour flight. It's the longest flight in the continental U.S. Fun fact is Miami to Seattle. So just remove at 45 minutes to 30 minutes, you're already looking at a 6-hour jet, 6 to 5 hour jet over. And they've been on Eastern time zone too for the whole week. So that's going to really screw up their body clocks. They've been in Cleveland, in Miami, and in Tampa. So they've been on Eastern time zone going to the Pacific time, Northwest.
Yeah. Tough.
So my pick, I'm taking Boston over San Diego. Classic William Locke pick. Seattle's traveling to Boston all the way from San Diego. Another long jet. They travel Wednesday. Fernando Tatis got put on the IL today, and they're down Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove. So you're going to see the back half of their rotation. You're not going to see Dylan Cease pitches on tomorrow, so you won't see him. And Boston's 8-2 in their last 10, and they got Tanner Hoke, who's been one of the best pitchers in baseball this year, and Nick Pivetta.
Mm-hmm.
So give me that Padres have been mediocre. They've started 1-1, 2-2, 3-3, and they're now 41-41. So give me Boston over San Diego in Boston. Boston is on the road, I believe, as well today. But yeah, just give me Boston, man. Those Red Sox, they got the good Celtics aura going around there. So yeah, give me them.
Yeah, Boston they're actually at home right now. They're losing to Toronto 6-2.
Give me that. And I hit last week with the Mets over the Cubs. Grimace hit. Grimace giving me the money. Thank you, Mickey D's. So a couple call-ups of the week. We had Drew Thorpe get called up. He's been looking all right. I don't know if you've seen him for the White Sox. Nice little change-up, 70-grade change-up I read. Ben Rice, you can talk about him. And Heston Kjerstad is up today. So
yeah.
what do you see about Rice and Thorpe, since you're tapped in there?
Well, yeah, Rice has been fine. I mean, he was tearing it up in the minor leagues. So, like I said earlier, I just like the fact that he's getting an opportunity instead of running Anthony Rizzo out there every single day, was bad. Thorpe's been meh. Like, he had a really bad start against the Diamondbacks, but then bounced back with a really good start against the Tigers, which I don't know how much that really means because the Tigers can't hit. Well, the Tigers go from like 13 runs to 1 run to 12 runs to 0 runs. So yeah, Thorpe is still a work in progress. Doesn't really not throw that hard. 91 miles an hour average fastball, but the change, like you said, is like a 70 grade. That's his pitch. It's really fastball change with a little bit of a slider mixed in there. So we'll see. It's only 3 starts. Should pitch again this week. Later in the week, they're playing the Dodgers right now. I don't think he's going to pitch in that series. So
that's actually good for his confidence.
Yes.
Even though he's a Southern California, he's a Californian kid. I think he went to Cal Poly. So
yeah, he is. He did.
Shout out Cal Poly, yeah. Hey, Peraza got called up. Actually, back to that Cal Poly. Cal Poly is a beautiful campus. Shout out San Luis Obispo. I actually have been there. Beautiful campus, good people, good food. Everything's good out there. I would highly recommend people go to Central California and not just chill out in like Southern California. Like, there's more of California than just like LA. So
true. Thorpe's next start is Thursday against Atlanta in like a makeup game, it looks like. So that's tough.
Oh, it's that makeup game. Yeah, I know exactly which one. Like, where it was in Chicago and like Crochet was supposed to pitch back earlier in the half. Yeah. But give me that. Peraza was up in the majors. Now he got optioned back down. He's probably getting moved at the deadline. Let's be honest.
Probably.
He's blocked, so team of the week, we'll go to it. Francisco Alvarez at catcher for the Mets, Bryce Harper for Philadelphia, IKF for Toronto, Austin Riley having a resurgence at third base for Atlanta, CJ Abrams for Washington. Then our outfielders are Brandon Nimmo from the Mets, J.J. Bleday from Oakland, Rafaela from Boston. I'm not going to say his first name. I'm going to try. DH, Shohei Ohtani. Utility man, I put Gunnar Henderson. Pitchers, Logan Gilbert. He's the pitcher of the week. Had a great start on Saturday night here in Miami. He got really mad at Scott Service for not being allowed to complete the game. Then Glasnow. And then Trevor Meagle for Milwaukee and David Robertson for Texas. That's our team of the week.
Boom. Team of the month dropping soon in about a week.
Yeah. Any closing remarks? I mean, we got Game 7 on. Copa America's going around. Good ball games. Euros were nuts today. I don't know if you've been watching them.
Oh, yeah. Been watching every Euro game pretty much.
So, man, all my predictions are coming true, man. Watching England stink it up. Watching Jude Bellingham stink it up. Love it. Love it.
Yeah. England could play bad and win the whole thing still. It doesn't really matter how you play. It's just getting the results. Now, they did not get the result against Denmark, but
hey, you Arsenal fans, not you, but there's someone on these apps, man. They're just talking, oh man, England creation. I'm like, man, you haven't created anything. It's been just lucky deflection goals. Like, instead of having G to A, like goal assist ratio, we need expected deflections.
It's been they haven't been good. The Netherlands keep playing well. Got a decent result against France. A lot of fun, man. The Euros are great. The vibes are great.
Crap.
Yeah.
France is playing exactly like England. France is just a bunch of dudes that just run fast and they just go lift at the gym. Like,
is anyone playing well right now in the Copa?
Spain,
I guess, or in the Euros.
Spain is playing ridiculous. Yamal is the best player in the whole freaking tournament right now.
16 years old.
Yeah, he's the whole freaking tournament. They're about to find the Germans about to find Spain because of labor laws.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, Germany's playing well. I mean, Italy hoodwinked me because of I got caught with the headband aura, the long hair, that '90s prime defender Nesta Maldini. I was like, oh man, these guys got aura. Nah, they're just Netherlands have played great. I've been actually, even though I don't like their tactics, Netherlands have played great. I do like Memphis Depay up front. Just got to finish his dinner. Big Memphis guy. So he's been man of the match a couple times in my book. He kills it off the field and on the field. So
yeah. So we're almost to the knockout stage there. You're Mexico. They got 3 points against Jamaica.
We suck. We freaking suck. Don't even get me started. Our keeper literally is terrible. This man, I feel he has ants in his pants because he cannot stay in the freaking box. Like he's just always moving around left, right, left, center. And I'm like, dude, just stay in one spot and don't move. Then we lost Edson Alvarez with a hammy. Like, of course he was going to lose a hammy. He was trying to keep up running with Mikel Antonio. The dude started running from across from not even from 3/4 of their half all the way to the other half. And Mikel Antonio was running full sprint. Of course his hammy was going to go. Bro.
The Copa's been interesting. The quality isn't as great as the Euros, but there's still some really good teams like Brazil and Argentina. So it feels like it's a crash course for those two in the final.
Argentina's been looking mad skeptical. Like their defense has more holes than Swiss cheese. I think a rat would love that defense, man.
I just think international football isn't as quality as club football, and it's easier to.
There's some quality teams. Netherlands have played great. Netherlands actually, I feel like Netherlands have probably been the second or third best team in the Euros.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter how you play. Like last time Portugal, or in 2016, Portugal played horrible the whole tournament and won the damn thing. So
Portugal's dog crap this year. But I'm just saying the way they showed that they can play a low block. They showed that they can play they showed they can sit back, absorb pressure, and get a result. And they've also showed that they can also play the game off the back foot and get a result with Whitehorse. And they've also played a game where they've been on the front foot. I just feel that they just need to finish more. If they had a striker, which I mean that's 90% of what teams need, where there's a striker shortage, just as there's like a pitching shortage, I feel like it'd be a way different tournament.
Yeah.
But that's all. I mean, we just went off rambling about soccer. That's something we do off pod. But good pod. Next week we got All-Star game picks, and after that we'll probably do another trade deadline pod, and we'll see what happens from there.
Draft pod.
I mean, there's a lot going around, man. It's peak season. So
it is peak. So that was a loaded one. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll be going for like an hour and a half. So a lot of fun as always. Also, Quincy Wilson tonight, 16-year-old, going for the 400-meter. He's in the 400-meter final in the U.S. Olympic trials, trying to make the Olympic team as a high schooler. Would be pretty sweet to see him do that.
You watch Olympics, the Olympiads, the 2024 Olympiad in
Eddie. Yeah, I'm locked in.
Hey, I'm sad that the 3v3 team had a big loss last week.
Yeah, big loss.
The 3v3 we lost Cameron Brink. Cameron Brink tore her ACL.
I know.
That's a shame. That's a shame. That's a shame for the 3v3 team. Hey, but Angel Reese is cooking, man. Angel Reese is cooking for Chicago. She's embraced the culture as well, which we'll talk about often.
And on that note, thank you all for listening to this episode. We hope you enjoyed. Please like, rate, review. It helps the visibility of the pod. And we'll catch you guys on the next episode next week for our All-Star game predictions in terms of players, not game, actually. Yeah. Peace.